I would have to ask you some questions surrounding that.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay? So who is it, what area within the community would you like to report discrimination?
Well, I have a discrimination case that I tried to file with the Minnesota EEOC office regarding
Okay.
being wrongfully fired from a
Okay.
Wagner Corporation here for no
Okay,
reason.
so
For no
when did
reason.
you file that with them?
Um, in April. They never even allowed me to have an intake interview. Yeah, and
Did they
and
do
I
any type of, did they follow up at all with
no.
a letter, an issue?
They said they wouldn't let me come in for an intake interview, but they said, well, go ahead and just file this paperwork, and then they wouldn't tell me where the paperwork is going to go. So yeah, they've never, and there was like three of us that got wrongfully fired around the same time, and we were gonna go together like in for an interview. They wouldn't let us come in for an intake interview, and then they tried to keep pushing it out, and I said. And then so I found out that if it was pushed out any farther, it'd be past the 300-day mark, and then we wouldn't be able to even do it. So they tried to trick us and push it out as far as possible, and then it was like right getting too close, and I was supposed to have my intake interview, and then they cut me off and said I'm not allowed to come in for my intake interview. Yeah, and I'm a veteran, and I'm a female. And it most definitely was discrimination against me at that workplace. Yeah, it was just
Okay.
I was told. Yeah, I was told I was. At first I was told I was doing good, and then I got put more. They gave me more lines to work on in the warehouse, more work.
Okay.
And then I was fired like 2 weeks later after, and then they said I wasn't keeping up, and I was like, well, why did you give me more lines to work on to begin with? Yeah, and yes, and I gave him my veteran discrimination. I gave him my veteran disability, and they didn't even look at it, and then they fired me anyways.
Okay, so can you hear me? I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm being, okay. So I need to ask you some questions in order to see if this meets what we have jurisdiction. So when were you terminated?
In April of 2024.
Okay, and when did you file with the EOC?
That month,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe the next month, April, May, or something. Because I was talking to a couple of the other people, and they said they're gonna file, so I went ahead and filed mine.
And you said that you were getting ready for an intake with them, but then they canceled?
Yeah, I had an intake interview, and it was like, what? It's supposed to just be, you're supposed to be able to. It's supposed to only be like a week long wait or a few days or something for an intake interview, and they pushed ours out 9 months.
Yeah, along with everybody else, because they do have a lot of complaints within the federal jurisdiction. So when was
I mean, if you have that many complaints of discrimination in a state, then I would say that that's a national emergency, Michelle. So, are you saying this is what are you saying? This is a federal what jurisdiction?
No, what I'm trying to identify is whether or not we can go ahead with this complaint here. Because if you've already filed with the EOC, we don't have authority to do a dual investigation. So
Well, nobody's investigating at all. So, somebody has to do something because the EEOC isn't doing their job. So, are you telling me that you're also not going to do your job? Because the EEOC didn't do anything. They said just fill out this one form, and then they just dropped it, and it didn't go anywhere. So are you also telling me that you're also not going to do your job? That's because I'm recording this. And I'm just letting everybody in the Minnesota know that not only the EEOC is not doing their job, but now this woman at Human Rights isn't doing her job either. She's trying to blow it off, saying it's not under her jurisdiction. Isn't that right? What you're telling me?
That's not what I said. No.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm.
We can.
Okay, maybe I got it wrong. Let's just make sure we get it right here.
The question?
What exactly are you talking about? A federal jurisdiction?
Ma'am, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, they have federal jurisdiction
Well, they're not. Well, they're not doing anything.
I'm trying to understand if we have authority to go ahead with this complaint because you've already filed with them. Did you contact
I'm sorry.
them
I'm
to see
sorry.
if
Why
there's
does it?
any-
Why does it matter if I file with one company and then another? They're two different complaints. That was a discrimination complaint against a workplace, and then
Okay.
it says that but that's a discrimination complaint. Yours is supposed to be a human rights complaint. Human rights should have nothing to do with a work discrimination case.
Actually, the area of
See,
employment,
they give you just the runaround. I'm just showing everybody how the games that you guys play. It's like you're all following a script where how to come off like you give us a runaround. So you must have been taught this script because it doesn't really work on me. Sorry. Okay. So this is a script I've heard before for years where every state office just gives us the runaround. And it sounds real good. Sounds like you know what you're talking about. But I know you've been trained by somebody to say this where you can just give me the runaround constantly thinking we're going to go away. Okay, so this really doesn't work on me. That's why I just record you for the whole country to hear. And this is what is happening in all of our state offices all around the country. They've been trained to say these certain things. Okay, so they can just give you the constant perpetual runaround. So I'll file a civil rights office. Now she's trying to say, well, the civil rights office has more jurisdiction than the human rights. So then she's giving me the runaround. Then it'll be past the buck. Then I'll be, so the civil rights office said, oh, we
So,
can't
ma'am,
handle
ma'am,
the civil
did you
rights
want to file a
office.
complaint?
Okay, go ahead. Would you? Okay, go ahead
So
with your.
if you would like to file a complaint, I need to ask some questions.
Okay.
Okay, so what entity within our community are you filing a discrimination complaint against?
Wagner Corporation.
Okay, and is that a previous employer?
Yeah, it's a previous employer this is where I got discriminated against, and that's a human rights violation, and I'm a veteran.
Okay, so is that the same employer, ex-employer you filed with the EOC?
Yes, that's
discrimination complaint with?
yes.
So
Mhm.
because two agencies cannot investigate on the same.
I'm sorry. Where is this?
discrimination
Where is this law that says this? Somebody look up the law in Minnesota and hold this woman accountable. What is the law and the statute that says that two agencies cannot investigate the same thing? They're two different complaints, ma'am. One of them specifically handles discrimination complaints, but this is you work for the Human Rights Office, so those are two different complaints. So what is the law and the statute that you're going by that says that two offices can't investigate? I'm looking up the statute. What's the statute? What is the statute? I'm on Google right now. What is the statute? Okay, now she's gonna hang up on me. I'm ma'am. Hello. I would like to continue my investigation here. I'm listening.
It's not an investigation right now. I'm the intake coordinator.
Okay, you're the intake coordinator, and what's your first and last name? What's your first and last name?
Maria is my first name, and I'm not going to give you my last name.
I thought you said your first name was Michelle. That's the message you left on my voicemail said Michelle.
Ma'am, when you're ready.
Okay, so now she's not giving me her name because she knows she's caught. She's caught. Okay, I want your last name. And why aren't you at work? Why are you never at your office? Okay, I'm not playing any games with these dumb people.